Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new chapter of Old Man Brad. Whether you are new to the show or returning for another chapter, thank you so much for giving me a listen. If you love the show, drop me a review over on your favorite podcast app or become a patron at patreon.com/oldmanbrad. So this chapter, I'm back with another new movie that just came out this week, and I have another interview. So I'll be talking about the newest film, Cannibal Comedian, which just came out on VOD, streaming on Screenbox, and on Blu-ray from Scream Team Releasing. And I have an interview with the co-writer and director of the film, Sean Haitz, which I was really excited to chat with him because this is a movie that I had wanted to see for a while because it's been playing festivals. It played a Horror Hound festival that I didn't get to make it to, but we'll dig into that here in a minute. Before we dive into all things Cannibal Comedian, if you live in the Cincinnati area, come out to Frightful Fridays on the third Friday of the month. I'm so thankful to be partnered with the Esquire Theater to host a horror screening each month. Our screening for March, on March 21st at 10 p.m. is April Fool's Day from 1986. And then our screening for April 18th at 10 o'clock is the 4K restoration of Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. Come out on the third Friday of the month, 10 p.m., and let's watch a movie together. All right, let's talk Cannibal Comedian.
That's original. Haven't seen that before. You here for the open mic?
Yeah. So I just deleted all the German names from my phone. It's now completely Hans-free.
You get 5 minutes, man. Get off. Don't be that guy.
Well, welcome to Open Mic. We about to get this thing started. So we got the next comic coming to the stage. Charlie, the Cannibal Comedian!
Oh, wow. You guys look great tonight. I'm getting hungry. Hey, don't worry about you in the back, all right? There's always room for second helpings, huh? Total narcissist, really into himself. He only eats his own flesh. Is that too much dead time? Of course you'd like that joke.
Everybody give a round of applause for Charlie the Cannibal Comedian.
Hey, how we all doing tonight? Good. So, I was out with this girl last night. She wasn't too pretty on the outside, but as I say...
What are you gonna do to me?
It's her insides that count, right?
A psychopathic cannibal, fed up with his lack of ambition, takes a stab at stand-up comedy in an attempt to chase both his dreams and his victims. This is co-written and directed by Sean Haitz. It stars Aaron Prager, Austin Judd, and many others. Like I said, this came out this week on VOD, and it is streaming on Screenbox. So if you have Screenbox, go check it out over there. Or if you want the Blu-ray physical copy of it, go check out Scream Team Releasing. They have the Blu-ray of it. I have a bunch of Blu-rays from Scream Team. I talked to Justin Seaman a while back about Scream Team, but yeah, go check out the Blu-ray from them. I plan on picking one of those up. Before, jumping ahead, I did enjoy the film, and I look forward. There's a lot of special features on the Blu-ray you'll hear Sean talk about. I'm not going to give my thoughts on the film quite yet. I'm going to wait for after the interview. So let's jump into my conversation with Sean Haitz, and I will talk to you on the other side. My guest today is the mind behind such films and shorts as Big Top Evil, Thumper's Revenge, and Bellevue Bob. His new film, Cannibal Comedian, is available everywhere now. I want to welcome in Sean Haitz. How you doing today, Sean?
Hey, great. I almost thought you said the great mime. And I was like, okay, I got to practice my mime work. Hey, started off with jokes, right? Because
that's what your movie's all about, right? Why don't you tell people a little bit about Cannibal Comedian?
Yeah, so this is Sheriff Weaver. I guess we don't need to give away too much. It's out.
Spoiler free.
Yeah. So it's ready to go. Yeah, it started with me doing stand-up comedy in LA, and really fast I realized how brutal that world was. And so I did it hardcore for like 9 weeks. And no, I did it longer than that. But I did it for a while, and there was just things that kind of blended together. Like I murdered tonight, I slaughtered the crowd, and it started just coming to me. And then I'd already made Big Top Evil, which has clowns killing and eating people. So it really just kind of came together in that way. And that was, a Cannibal Comedian was born. But the movie is really, it's a guy that's, an artist, a sensitive type. He's got this confidence. He's very comfortable in his surroundings. And, he's got this Leatherface type attitude, like he could be part of the Sawyer family. But he has other aspirations, like admirations, that he wants to be a stand-up comedian. That's ever since he was a little kid. And so it's almost that thing where like his neighbors are like, yeah, okay, yeah, all right, you're gonna be a stand-up comic. All right, now go kill these people, that small town thinking in general. And so, but he really wants to pursue stand-up.
Now, you mentioned, he could be part of the Sawyer family. You have that cannibal side, and then you have the comedic side that, just cheesy fun. How did you manage, like, meshing these two worlds together?
You know what? For me, it is pretty simple because I love those two genres so much. There was one thing that I made sure of, being a stand-up comic, I did it a little bit, but I realized real quick, like what the open mics are. It's usually just a couple of comics there. Someone's eating a cheeseburger. The other person's not paying attention. They're writing their own material. And that's the vibe when you go do an open mic. And so when I had real comics come in from LA, they go, wow, this really feels like a real open mic. So my whole thing was to really just try to get that authenticity. And same thing with him when he's at his house. This house was actually already nicknamed the Murder Cabin before we even filmed there. And then we were able to use that house. And the owner of the house is a stand-up comedian, which, just kind of all blends together. I don't know if I answered your question.
No. That is kind of funny that the house that you got, a stand-up comedian owned the house. Kind of the odds of that. So were some of the crowd in the scenes of the stand-up comedy scenes, you brought in actual comedians to kind of fill the scene?
Yes. Working comics. Yeah. And we had them do a 10-minute set. And we knew at that time we may only use a joke or two, and I wanted them to do their thing. And so we had them do their sets, and they either did great or didn't do so well. And we kind of took out jokes that we thought made sense for the movie. But then on the Blu-ray, we put together this whole comedy blend, like a half-hour special, or it's like 40 minutes, and it's got most of their material now in it. And it's kind of like that old school Comedy Central comedy blend where it's like a couple jokes here, and then these jokes are in the same theme of another comedian, and they're kind of popping around. So that's actually on the Blu-ray.
Another reason to get the physical media right there.
Yeah.
The film now, it's out on streaming, it's out on VOD and Blu-ray. Basically all kind of dropped at the same time everywhere.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
Back to your connection. I wanted a connection with Chainsaw Massacre as well. You have a couple people that were involved with the original Chainsaw Massacre in your film too. How did you come across getting them on the film? I
feel like everything happens for a reason, and we had pitched, and we were trying to figure out. We wanted someone to do the opening crawl of the movie because we were going to do off of Chainsaw Massacre with the text crawl from the OG. So we had different names floating around, and then actually the guy who plays the heckler, Mark Cerulli, we've worked together. He's a writer too, and he's helping me produce and co-wrote this movie called Area 5150. But he had done an interview for a magazine with Alan Danziger, who was Chainsaw. He calls himself Chainsaw Jerry. He was Jerry from the original cast. And so we reached out to him, and he was happy to do it. And now we're like besties. So it's pretty cool. And then the same thing happened with the Skelly character, which is the rotting skeleton. that we kept adding more to in the movie. He was just in one scene as one bit, so you don't have any guts, and then ha 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 ha, and then we kept adding, and then we named him, his name's Skelly, and same deal. We went trying to think of who would be good for it. We even reached out to famous comedians, and we were thinking who would be great for this voice. I forgot how it happened, but it just so happened that we got in touch with Ed Neal, who's the hitchhiker, and then we had a phone call with him, and he was basically in character for about 45 minutes, and like as the hitchhiker, and then he'd drop out of it to talk business, like talk normal, and then he'd go back in. So it was a really fun call, and then we actually ended up getting to see I got to go see the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 50th anniversary first Hollywood premiere 50 years later, and then at that time we got to do a few interviews with them for the documentary.
That is really cool. Like, it seems like things for this film, like this film's gone on quite the journey. I mean, from, what you said, the comedians, the connection to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you did quite a festival run with the film as well, correct?
Yeah, we won a lot of awards. I think it's up to 26.
Wow.
Not too shabby. Yeah.
Now, how did that whole run go for you? Was it partially fun and stressful on the same lines of like, this is fun traveling around showing the movie, but I want to like get it out there to people.
Right. You know what? I was good with just getting it out there, and I was enjoying. I was seriously just in the moment. So I knew that we needed distribution, and we wanted to do that, but we also wanted to try to get it out, and I just had a ball because I hadn't traveled so much before. So especially for a film and being able to do that was really something special.
And how did Screambox and Scream Team Releasing, how did you get involved with those guys?
Yeah, so they're sort of like a part of this whole, the Days of the Dead, and I met Tony Wash at Days of the Dead. Like, our filmmaker table was right next to Bloody Bites and Screambox, where he's selling, I think at the time it was Terrifier 2. So we got talking, and I eventually was able to get Thumper on. Obviously has to go through their process and if they like it or not. And so that the relationship started going, and I was friends with Kevin Kasha. He was Acquisitions of Anchor Bay way back in the day. He put me in contact with Cinedigm. It was Cinedigm at the time. And then I reached out to them, and they said, well, it's Cineverse now. And then they got me in touch with the guys over that are running Cineverse now. And I sent them, I was able to send them the movie. That's basically how it really went down.
And they loved it, and now the rest is history for you, right?
Yeah. Now we're rocking and rolling.
Now, tell me a little of your lead in the movie, Charlie, played by Aaron. Have you worked? I've seen that he's worked with you on some short films. You guys have worked together. Did you work together before this film, or did you have you known him and kind of like, hey, this is what I want to do? Can you do take this and run with it?
Right. So 2019, me and Aaron were Ghostbusters in the Halloween Horror Nights.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he was I was Venkman and he was Stans. From there, our relationship started. And at that same time, Robert, who plays Carrie in the film, met him. And then another guy, Nick, who was also a Ghostbuster, he gets killed with the axe in the beginning.
Okay, yeah.
So there's a lot of Halloween Horror Nights connection. And other guys in the movie too. Shout out to Halloween Horror Nights and their casting. Because I first saw Aaron and he was hilarious. Like I say like he's like Chris Farley, like he's just on. And even if he's pissed off, he's like, son of a, like just like does these big, and you can hear him like through a crowd. And I'm like, this guy, like he's got something. And at the time it wasn't for Cannibal Comedian, but I was telling him I want to work with you on, in a movie or something like that. And I had different people attached at the time when I was writing Cannibal. And then I just literally asked him, I even asked my wife, I'm like, should I see if he wants to do it? And she's like, yeah. I mean, so I reached out to him, and he literally did a audition right from his phone, which is in the documentary too, his audition. And I was like, okay, yeah, he's like Ace Ventura. No one else can do this guy. This is, this is Aaron, this is Zach Morris, or Screech, like no one else is.
And were there any moments through the film that he were kind of improv moments of like, he went off script, but I have to keep this in there?
Yeah, it was always a discussion between us because I really did go by the script on this one. I am all about improv too, but he had a lot of serious moments. I know it's called Cannibal Comedian, but it's like he's pretty serious in these moments, and we really needed to stick to the script. But we would talk before, and he'd be like, "What do you think about if I said it like this?" And then we try it out, and then I'm like, "Yeah, that's better. It's more natural." That's all I really wanted. Like, what's going to come out more natural? Because sometimes when you write something and then you say it's like sounds weird. It doesn't sound natural. So, yeah, I wanted to come out. So, yeah, we would work together if we were going to make any changes. But other than that, we stuck to the script.
Were there any moments throughout filming this movie that any behind the scenes stories that would just kind of really stick out for the film? This has been a movie that's kind of been on your plate for a while.
Yeah, like 6 years, because I wrote it like 6 years ago, and then 5 years in the making, basically. So yeah, there's. I mean, I'll just go with like what just popped in my head, and it was the time when this was another pickup shoot, and then this time we were in Van Nuys, and we're going over lines like literally across the street, and we're shooting in a garage, and they're trying to do interviews for the documentary, and we're trying to see if it's one of the last scenes in the movie, if it's gonna work. Like, that's when we were kind of coming up with if you could pull it off, then we're gonna do it. And then someone or I think Ryan or someone would come out of the house and be like, "You guys got to be quiet," and we're like, "You got to be quiet. We got to rehearse this." I just remember that time, but it was such a great moment that it worked out. Like, we were literally just that was something that we were kind of just coming up with to see if it worked, and it did, and that was like a magical moment. But that, I don't know why that one stuck out for me.
I mean, that's probably just one of those moments of like, don't ruin this for me. Basically, right?
Yeah, part of it, like we're coming up with magic. You guys are doing interviews. Yeah.
Now, not to give anything away of the film, is there future Cannibal Comedians? More in the future in your brain, or possibilities?
She had big brains. They were delicious. Yeah. That stupid joke is from my dad, actually. And no one ever laughs at it. Every screening, they don't laugh at that one. I'm like, I like that one. It's silly. It's so corny that, Yeah, there's that tease at the end, right? And there's so many avenues that we could go. I do have an outline, and I have written on a second one. But it really comes down to if people want us to make it again, right?
Yeah.
I already have another script for another movie, and then I'm in post-production with Area 5150. So I have a lot on my plate at the same time, and then trying to push this movie out. So if that comes to fruition, I have backstory. I want to bring his dad in, him as a little kid, and do that flashback stuff, kind of like Godfather.
You need to bring in more of the dad jokes. I mean, you got to have the backstory of those, right?
I'll tell you one thing. I'll say, and I don't care, but and we could bring them back too. But we had the OG Texas Chainsaw Massacre guys, right, in the first one. So why wouldn't we not have the people from the second one, like Bill Moseley, Caroline Williams, which I've already talked to them about, and so that would be really fun.
That would be really
and then
fun.
keep going. If we do a third one, then we'd bring in people from the third Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So I think that would be really fun.
Eventually, you could get Matthew McConaughey. You think he could come on?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, if we're making a fourth, I mean, we're doing pretty good. Terrifier's doing good.
There you go.
They're already on a fourth one, so yeah.
Well, Sean, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with me about Cannibal Comedian. I was been looking forward to seeing this movie for a while since I'd heard about it at Horror Hound in Indianapolis and didn't make it down there. I hope people go see it. Go watch it on Screambox. Go pick up the Blu-ray from Scream Team Releasing, or rent it on VOD. But where can people follow along to you to kind of follow the continued path of this and what you have coming in the future?
Yeah, for sure. So Instagram is number one, I think, for us, and we're on X and Facebook, Blue Sky. So the crew is out. I mean, the cast and crew are out there just pushing it. But for my personal page, it's Sean_Haitz, Haitz. So on my Instagram, and then Cannibal Comedian is on Instagram too. Then the other thing that we're really wanting people to know is that the Blu-ray has over 6 hours of special features on it.
Wow. Okay.
So it's a really big deal. It's packed. Like, this thing is packed. And we made a 90-minute movie that's even longer than the feature, a documentary called Blood, Sweat, and Tears and More Blood. And that is the making of Cannibal Comedian, which was so well done. Dan Ballister cut that thing, and I was almost in tears because it's a beautifully done documentary, and it kind of takes you back to me as a kid with the camera shooting scenes from Scream, the original Scream. So, I mean, it goes way back, and then, there's so many cameos, there's more celebrities in that documentary than there is in the movie. So it's really, really well done. So you can only get it on the Blu-ray.
Okay. Awesome. That might move it up my list to pick up for sure then.
Yeah, screamteamreleasing.com. And then they're also doing a VHS. And right now, the whole cast signed everything, and the VHS is numbered. So you actually get it's a limited amount that they're doing that. So that's another cool thing too you can pick up.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you again, Sean, for chatting with me. I wish you all the best with this movie and look forward to seeing what you have in the future. Hope you'll come back, in the future with your next projects.
Sounds great. Thanks, Brad.
I want to thank Sean again for chatting with me. We actually chatted for a whole lot longer afterwards about the film, about film fests, about all kinds of things. It was such a good time talking to him. He did want me to throw out there, he forgot to mention his producing partner, Ryan James, who was a force behind the documentary that he talks about, the behind the scenes documentary, and a whole host of other things with Cannibal Comedian. He was like, oh crap, I forgot to mention him. So I just wanted to let you guys know. He has a small part in the movie, so if you watch the movie, watch for Bruce. Like I said earlier, I wanted to see this movie quite a while ago. It played at Horror Hound, played as part of the Horror Hound Film Fest, but it was before the time I kind of got really involved with Horror Hound. I wasn't a film judge with them yet, so I didn't get a chance to see this. It was in Indianapolis, and I unfortunately could not make the weekend that it played. So I've been kind of following online, seeing things for this movie for a while. So I was excited to finally kind of sit down, watch it, and getting the chance to talk to Sean about the movie. I know this has been quite the journey for this film. I mean, overall, I enjoyed it. It was a fun movie. Saying a cannibal. I feel like cannibals are my thing this week. Over on Patreon, I just did an episode for a movie called Zombie Holocaust. It deals with zombies and cannibals from the 80s. And I think there was one other one I watched recently that dealt with cannibals. But anyway, Cannibal Comedian. It's this film of this cannibal, almost, like in the interview, almost like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, kind of set up in that vein, out in the middle of nowhere, taking victims, unsuspecting victims, drawing them in, killing them, eating them, all kinds of stuff. One scene in it, there's the cannibal has a meatball stand on the side of the road, and some unsuspecting people out in the middle of nowhere stop, and the guy's like, "Oh, I'm so hungry, I want a meatball." Hilarious scene. But he's always had these aspirations to be a comedian, and he does comedy at home with himself, kind of just talking to himself, and he gets convinced to try it out, open mic night. And he goes out, and it's not fully jokes. He's just out there joking about being a cannibal, which he really is, and people just think he's joking because he's got the apron on, he's covered in blood and everything else, and he's doing all these jokes about eating people and about other stuff, and people are, no pun intended, eating it up. Eventually he brings props and other things, but he's still wrestling with this being a comedian, being a cannibal, and how, he should play things out in his life. And he sits one of the women he captures. It's like she's his therapist. He sits down with her, she's tied up, whatever, and talking to her through things, and she's giving him advice. And it's actually dramatic in that way of he's trying to figure things out along with killing and eating, and his comedies, people are trying to steal his stuff and other things. A little twist at the end that I didn't see coming, that I liked, that I'm not going to tell you about. You have to go see the movie to find out. But this was a fun little twist on the cannibal movies that we've seen in the past, of the out in the middle of nowhere crazy killers, and kind of a twist upon that, which I really enjoyed. I liked this different take on it, and it was just a fun watch. So I would recommend going and check out Cannibal Comedian. If it's something that sounds like it appeals to you, go rent it, go watch it on Screambox, go get the Blu-ray, but just go have fun with this, because it's just a fun film. Well, on my way out this year, I've been doing any movie I watch, I've been trying to figure out a double feature to go with a film. And I've been really thinking of this one, of like, what could I play with Cannibal Comedian that would really kind of go with it? Do I go another horror comedy? Do I do another indie slasher? I don't know. What do I do? And I figured out the film that I would put double featured with Cannibal Comedian. And that is the film that came out recently out in theaters, and that is Bloody Axe Wound. It is another horror comedy that deals kind of with this girl whose dad is a serial killer, and she wants to take over, in air quotes, the family business. But there is this whole family dynamic, and she's trying to figure out, one of the final girls, I really like her. Do I kill all of her friends and go after her? What do I do? And it's this wrestle, kind of dramatic, in a way, relationship piece that I feel like these two movies kind of play kind of similarly with each other. They're both comedies. They both deal with different types of horror. So one's a cannibal, the other's a slasher. And I think they would play good together. There's your double feature for this week: Cannibal Comedian and Bloody Axe Wound. You can watch either, watch it in either way, which one you want to watch first. But there's my at-home double feature to go with this week's film. And Bloody Axe Wound, you can go back and listen to a previous Old Man Brad episode where I chat with the director about the film. Just a little plug there for you. Well, that will do it for another chapter of Old Man Brad. Just subscribe to the show and you will never miss any chapter of the show or any of the episodes from my series Tales from Tubi and my upcoming series that is coming out here in the next couple of weeks, Versus, where I pit the original horror movie and its remake/reboot versus each other into a battle. Only one film can make its way out. My first one's going to be the April Fool's Day movies. My wife will be joining me for those, and then each time I come out with one, I'll have a brand new guest. I am really excited to start this series this year. Just subscribe and you'll never miss any of it. Just snuggle up in that blanket, turn off the lights, because it's okay to be scared. We'll talk to you later, everybody.